Rarely do journalists get to tell the story of what goes on behind the scenes. In this recap of events that defined his coverage this year, Melita Oletenges looks at key stories that defined his storytelling and what it looks like behind the scenes. Take a look.
From speculation of who is fooling whom between DCI detectives and Juja MP, United Nations maintains story is now appearing to break ranks with the government.
On the 15th of October, I was getting ready for work, and it seemed like a normal day until I got a phone call from my editor, Yusuf Lakicha. And his tone was with urgency.
Tenges, uko wapi?
It meant all hands on deck. And without thinking much, I jumped out of the house. And I was headed to work. A few minutes later, I was in the newsroom, and I could feel the atmosphere was heavy already, based on the activities, people moving up and down, and all editors were there, reporters coming in, running fast. I started scrolling on my phone, and I could realize there were very many cryptic messages from Raila Odinga's close aides hinting at the unthinkable. And at this point, it dawned on me that this is going to be a big news day. Few minutes later, we were now at the barrier that opens up to Kerarapon and the stretch that leads to Raila Odinga's home. And what I saw there, it was as if the country had stopped everything they were doing and headed in one direction. It was like the proverbial exodus, some walking, some driving, and they were just walking towards Raila Odinga's home. And then you come to that stretch where now you can see the home just maybe say 200 meters yonder. And you can see outside the gate, there were so many people.
Mic check, 1, 2, mic check, 1, 2.
Hundreds of people had already flocked the gate, and it was still very early. It was barely 1 hour since news went round. The scene that greeted us was even more overwhelming. The yard was full to the brim. And here were people who were carrying twigs, some were crying, chanting, people really visibly distraught by just receiving the news of Raila Odinga's passing.
As curtains fall on one of Kenya's most enigmatic leaders of all time.
As much as you're supposed to act professionally, it also moves you. Because I remember at that point, I got also emotional because I also covered Raila Odinga for at least 9 years of my career. Once in a one-on-one interview. And my team members as well had covered him. And you could see in our faces, we were also very sad. But then the weight of the assignment was upon us, and we knew that we are covering history as it unfolds. And so we had to be on top of our game. We came to our senses, and we discussed how we are going to produce this. And we get to work.
Many journalists who are there, we don't know what to do. The people are wailing, we may record footage mingi. I decided, let me step outside the compound where we were. Outside the compound where we were is the parking yard for the former Prime Minister. That is now the time I managed to get a shot of Mama Ida mourning with I remember she was working with Governor Gladys Wanga. I caught her shot. I think it was, I can say I'm the only camera person who managed to get that shot of her coming from that crowd, going to the room. That position also gave me humble time to get some interviews, some reactions. Many leaders mourn and send their messages.
I could not believe it that I was filming the last history, or which has come to pause. I remember taking some shots there with my colleague Tenges, and I told him, hey, bro, we are taking this. We'll remember these photos in future. Kwamba leo ni mzee, ilikuwa siku yake ya mwisho. And I could not imagine it, that when I started filming Baba, that was way back 2012, different rallies, different mandamanos. I could not believe it, that was the last time. Maybe I'll say it, history was coming to pause. So we left that place in disbelief.
I don't believe this. This is not happening, man. Without Baba, we are not able, Bana. Tafadhali.
Few young men got a bit rowdy. Some started climbing trees, trying to harvest avocados that were ripe in the compound. We had another section of young people trying to access Raila Odinga's home. Something out of the ordinary happened. Mama Ida Odinga came out. She was grieving the death of her husband, but she had to come out to speak to these young people, just to tell them, please, let's mourn respectfully. And as much as she was trying to speak to them, some of them were quite a bit unreceptive, maybe because of the flare-up of emotions, but eventually they got to rest and calm down. We would now see family, friends, relatives, politicians streaming into Raila Odinga's compound and family home to mourn with the family, pass their messages of condolences, and we would also be seeing this online as well from Kenyans from all walks of life, really.
As calm as it may appear today on the 16th of October, Parliament Road and Parliament buildings was a no-go zone, the epicenter of chaos. Thousands of mourners had gathered here to view Raila Odinga's body lie in state. Tempers flared when they learned that the body had stalled at JKIA. They even threatened to force their way in, climbing atop the gate. It was impossible to bring Raila's body here.
I remember at some point the member of parliament for Embakasi East, Babu Owino, the senator for Nairobi, Edwin Sifuna, are the ones who had to intervene because these were young people and seemingly they could only listen to them because other leaders were there. I could see Senator for Kisumu, Tom Ojenda. I could see Otiende Amolo, the member of parliament for Arieda, as well as Senator for Narok, Ledama Olekina. And shortly after, these leaders are the ones who said that, you know, after speaking to the burial preparations committee, then it has been decided that the event of the body of Raila Odinga's lying in state won't happen again in parliament. And so it had to be transferred to Kasarani. But no, there was no movement whatsoever. They still pitched camp there because they weren't really believing that the body of Raila Odinga would be taken to Kasarani. And so they thought this is a scapegoat. This is a diversionary tactic to make us move out of parliament. And so they continued to stay there, hoping that the body will be brought there. The military was now putting down the setup. Everything was being put down. The walkway that was set up, the platform, the red platform that was also set up where the body would have been placed was removed. And it was now clear that the lying in state ceremony was not going to happen. But outside, the youth were not having it. And the leaders tried as much as possible. And so we remained holed up in Parliament for the rest of the day because we could not get out. It was understandably so because of just how much Kenyans came out in large numbers to mourn Raila Odinga. Operatives that were hooded and moving around in Subaru vehicles, and they were being sent to volatile areas, considered volatile areas in the thick of the protests. And everywhere they go, there were gunshots and reported deaths a few moments afterwards. But what stood out for me as I was covering this particular story was how much citizen journalism contributes to journalism as it is. It is very difficult to hide anymore. Even when you think you are deep in informal settlements, there are people who are recording. There are people who will get you in the act. And this was evident through the numerous videos that were being sent to the newsroom. Look, this is Kitengela. Look, this is Dagoretti. Look, this is Uthiru. And the collage of videos we would have there just showed how much Kenyans are contributing to accountability, even from our security officers. And the questions that were being raised then is, who are these people? Which squad is this? We were told there are no more squads operating like this. And you could hear the voices of the people who are recording, the trembling voices, the fear in their voices. But above all, the fact that they managed to record these people in the act is a huge contribution and a milestone to citizen journalism. It is, however, really sad that to date we've had deaths recorded from that particular period, but not much progress in terms of apprehending the people who committed the killings, apprehending the people who maimed and injured victims of the protests. That is the gap that I think as a journalist still needs to be addressed, because they cannot just walk scot-free.
The final day for the campaigns for the Malava constituency by-election.
We were deployed, I think 4 days to the by-election date to cover the last campaigns that were happening in the constituency. And once you reached there, you could tell that the tension between UDA and DAPK camps was really palpable. And in the undertones, you could hear from residents that this group was scheming against this one, and this one was scheming against this other group. On the night before the election, around 3 a.m., my phone was ringing, and the person on the other end just said, "Tumevamiwa, tumevamiwa, citizen, mko wapi? Kujeni haraka, kujeni haraka." He told me Seth Panyako pamoja na mke wake and his aides had been attacked at a hotel in Kaburengu. It was called the Downhill Hotel. They were saying that goons just came in out of nowhere, started shattering the windows of the vehicles, throwing stones, attacking the staff who worked there with machetes and stones, and they were also carrying sticks. That was the first attack. So when the polling stations opened at 6 a.m., we called security apparatus, and they confirmed the incident, saying that yes, indeed, we received reports that Seth Panyako was attacked, and we've opened investigations, We are trying to ascertain the people who are involved in these heinous attacks. At our fourth station, we get another call. And this time, it was one of my news sources from Malava town. Called me and told me, have you heard news that a vehicle has been torched in Butali ward? The two opposing camps met each other along a certain road, and then immediately they went for each other's jugular.
Na nyuma yangu unaona ni gari lililochomwa karibu lisali moja lililopita hapa baada ya machafuko kushuhudiwa.
It created voter apathy in that region because the people who are getting themselves ready to go and vote could hardly go and vote because they felt fear, they felt intimidation, regardless of the camp they were going to cast their vote for. By and large, those were the events that highlighted my year 2025 through my eyes as a journalist.